What if the biggest threat to the global financial system isn't criminals hiding in the shadows, but outdated systems trying to catch them? Every day, trillions of dollars move across borders in milliseconds, while financial crime evolves faster than regulations can keep up. Traditional anti-money laundering tools are overwhelmed, drowning banks in false alerts and blind to the patterns that actually matter. In this video, we're going to explore why AI is no longer just an upgrade for AML. It's becoming a necessity, and what that shift means for your money, your privacy, and the future of the financial system itself. Money moves faster than ever before. Every second, millions of transactions cross borders, platforms, and digital wallets, silently, instantly, and often invisibly. But while finance has evolved at machine speed, financial crime has evolved even faster. In 2026, banks are no longer asking whether they should use AI for anti-money laundering. They're asking something far more urgent. Can we survive without it? The broken AML system. For decades, anti-money laundering, or AML, relied on rules. If a transaction crossed a certain threshold, flag it. If a customer matched a known risk profile, investigate. If something looked suspicious, escalate it. But the modern financial ecosystem shattered those assumptions. Criminal networks now use thousands of microtransactions, layered digital identities, crypto bridges, fintech apps, and shell entities, and AI-generated behavior that mimics legitimate users. The result? Traditional AML systems now generate millions of false positives, overwhelming compliance teams while still missing real crime. According to industry estimates cited in the article, compliance officers often spend over 90% of their time reviewing alerts that lead nowhere. This is not inefficient, this is systemic failure. Why is 2026 is a turning point? So why is 2026 different? Because pressure is coming from all directions at once. Regulators are tightening expectations. Transaction volumes are exploding. Cross-border payments are becoming the norm, not the exception. And staffing shortages in compliance teams are worsening globally. Financial institutions are trapped between two impossible demands. Do more monitoring with fewer people at lower cost with higher accuracy. This is where AI stops being innovation and becomes infrastructure. How AI changes AML fundamentally, Eke1 doesn't just automate AML. It redefines how risk is understood. Instead of static rules, Eke1 systems analyze behavioral patterns over time, network relationships between accounts, transaction context, not just transaction value, deviations from normal behavior, not predefined thresholds. Machine learning models can detect weak signals, patterns invisible to human analysts, and rule-based engines. For example, a single transaction may look harmless, but AI can see how it connects to hundreds of others across time, geography, and platforms. This turns AML from reactive policing into predictive defense. Real-time AML, Kalima, as retroactive AML. One of the most important shifts highlighted in the article is real-time monitoring. Traditional AML works after the fact. Money moves first. Investigations happen later. AI enables real-time transaction scoring, instant risk recalculation, continuous customer profiling. This matters because in modern finance, once money moves, recovery is often impossible. Eke1 tools allow institutions to intervene before damage occurs, not months later in an audit report. Regulators are nitrogen monoxide, longer skeptical. A major turning point noted in the article is regulatory acceptance. 5 years ago, regulators worried that Eke1 would reduce transparency, introduce bias, create black box decisioning. In 2026, that skepticism is fading. Why? Because regulators now see that manual systems fail far more dangerously. Many supervisory bodies now actively encourage explainable AI-SATU models, human-in-the-loop systems, auditable machine learning pipelines. The goal is no longer avoiding AI pain, it's governing it responsibly. The human role doesn't disappear. A common fear is that Eke1 will replace compliance professionals. The article makes one thing clear. Eke1 doesn't replace humans, it reallocates them. Instead of reviewing endless false alerts, manually checking spreadsheets, performing repetitive investigations, humans focus on high-risk cases, strategic risk assessment, regulatory interpretation, ethical oversight. AI handles volume, humans handle judgment. This partnership is what makes modern AML scalable. The cost of not adopting AI. Satu, perhaps the most powerful insight from the article is this. Not adopting AI-driven AML face higher regulatory fines, slower response times, reputational damage, loss of correspondent banking relationships. In an interconnected financial system, weak compliance doesn't stay isolated. It spreads risk across networks. Why traditional AML is failing? For decades, anti-money laundering systems were built on a simple idea: rules. If a transaction exceeds a certain amount, flag it. If transfers happen too frequently, flag them. If money moves across borders, flag it. On paper, this makes sense. In reality, it creates chaos. Traditional AML systems rely heavily on static, rule-based frameworks that struggle to keep up with how financial crime actually works today. Criminal networks don't operate in straight lines anymore. They adapt, fragment, and camouflage their behavior inside millions of legitimate transactions. The result? Banks are drowning in alerts. In many institutions, over 90% of ML alerts turn out to be false positives. Analysts spend hours reviewing transactions that pose no real risk, while genuinely suspicious activity can slip through unnoticed. This isn't just inefficient, it's dangerous, because while banks are busy chasing noise, financial crime is evolving at machine speed. The scale problem. Modern financial systems move money at an unprecedented scale. Millions of transactions per second, across borders, across platforms, across currencies, and the ML teams are expected to monitor all of it in real time. Human analysts simply can't process that volume. Even the most experienced compliance professionals are limited by time, cognitive capacity, and outdated tools. Reviewing spreadsheets, transaction logs, and disconnected systems creates blind spots, and criminals know exactly how to exploit them. This is where the traditional model breaks down. AML was designed for a slower financial world. 2026 is not slow. Criminals are already using AA. Here's the uncomfortable truth many institutions avoid saying out loud. Financial criminals are already using AA. They use machine learning to test which transaction patterns trigger alerts. They use automation to split large sums into thousands of microtransactions. They use synthetic identities generated by AA1 to bypass KYC checks. They use deepfakes and voice cloning to manipulate onboarding and verification processes. This creates an asymmetric battlefield. If banks rely on manual reviews and static rules, they're bringing knives to a drone fight. AI isn't a luxury anymore. It's defensive infrastructure. Why AI changes the game for AML? Unlike rule-based systems, AI-driven AML doesn't ask, does this transaction break a rule? It asks a deeper question. Does this behavior make sense? Akasatu models analyze patterns across time, context, and relationships. They don't just look at individual transactions, they look at networks. Who sends money to whom? How often? At what times? From which devices? Across which jurisdictions? And most importantly, how that behavior deviates from normal patterns. This allows AI systems to surface risk signals humans would never see. Subtle anomalies, gradual changes, hidden coordination across accounts. This is not about replacing compliance teams, it's about giving them vision. From alert factories to risk intelligence, one of the biggest promises of AI and AML is alert reduction. By learning which alerts actually lead to confirmed cases of money laundering, AI-Satu models can prioritize high-risk activity and suppress noise. Instead of reviewing thousands of low-value alerts, analysts can focus on the small percentage that truly matter. This transforms an ML from a reactive burden into a strategic intelligence function. Compliance stops being about ticking boxes. It becomes about understanding threats. Regulators are paying attention. Regulators around the world are no longer asking if banks use AI. They're asking how. In 2026, regulators recognize that legacy AML systems are not fit for purpose in an AI-driven financial ecosystem. They are encouraging innovation, but with guardrails. Explainability, auditability, bias mitigation, human oversight. AI doesn't replace responsibility, it reshapes it. Banks are expected to understand their models, not blindly trust them.